Let me tell you a story. It's about the war over silver. What I'm telling you is a true story. It's the COMEX Silver War, that is the New York Commodity Exchange. This is about the last real silver war that happened in history. Today, I'm going to tell you this story. The main characters are the Hunt brothers. You can Google them for more information. The Hunt brothers. This family was born in Illinois and rose to prominence in Texas. In this century, in the middle of the last century, their family discovered oil fields in Texas. Texas is a big state with lots of oil fields, private oil wells. They found them there. They suddenly became wealthy. So the elder Hunt, named Lafayette Harrison, ended up marrying 3 wives. House number 1, house number 2, house number 3, and had 15 children. All of them were raised quite well. Among them, 2 of the children from the first wife, the main inheritance also went to the first wife's line. The sons of the first wife were the Hunt brothers. He was the son of the first wife. One was named Bunker, and the other was named Herbert. Bunker. Herbert, the Hunt brothers, led the U.S. silver bull market that started in 1974. It was way more impressive than today. Before they made their move, let me tell you, silver had always been around $1, about $1 US. After World War II, it stayed at about $1 US. By the time the 2 of them reached 1974, they started buying gradually, buying little by little. The 2 of them bought 55 million ounces. 55 million ounces of silver ended up in the hands of the Hunt brothers. Because they were oil tycoons, they had money. They bought 55 million ounces. This caused the COMEX silver price to rise from about $1.50 to $6 per ounce. In other words, from the $1 to $1.50 range before 1970, it rose to $6 in 1974 for 1 ounce of silver. Remember these key figures. Then the 2 of them started to get a bit carried away because they had made a huge amount of money, 55 million ounces. The 2 of them were worried that the US government would play dirty and seize their silver. Because back in the 1930s and the 1940s, the US government had indeed played dirty before and confiscated everyone's gold. So, at that time, the US government confiscated all the gold owned by Americans, took it all away, and it was illegal for any private individual in the US to own gold. So it was like this both before and after the war. That's why the Hunt brothers were afraid their silver would be confiscated too. So they used their planes, their private jets, to transport warehouse after warehouse of silver, flying it to underground vaults in Zurich, Switzerland, specifically in the Alpine mountain vaults. They even hired the best gunmen from Texas, USA, to escort the shipments, selecting 20 sharpshooters for the job. Old Wang was furious, calling them a bunch of idiots. He said, just watch my channel, and even he could go bankrupt. Tell me, isn't he a total idiot? Because I've always said gold is rising, gold is going up. Damn it, talking about gold? I've been saying this since gold was 2,000 or 3,000 yuan. I've kept saying it all the way until now. The time I really said gold was rising was during my first phase of entrepreneurship. You bunch of idiots. Don't think I'm just some internet celebrity. I really am a damn internet celebrity. But before I became an internet celebrity, I was the boss of China's first capital company. Damn. Back then, I was the one who took China Gold public. The very first private listed company for China Gold was done by me. One was Yi Gold buying Qulin. And another, Shuibei Gold and Jewelry bought Yichun Guangming Furniture. All of it was done by me. You bunch of idiots. Do you even know who I am? Back in 2010, at that time, I did all this in 2010. Back in 2005, I said gold would quadruple in price, triple, when I was in Shanghai. There was an article published in the December 2005 issue of Oriental Outlook Weekly. You bunch of idiots, do you know who I am? In 2005, I already said it. You want to compare yourself to me? Damn, I said this 20 years ago. The Hunt brothers bought 55 million ounces of silver, and the price of silver skyrocketed from $1.50 to $6. Although the Hunt brothers were the richest men in America at the time, that year, the richest person in America was Hunt Bank. But Bank felt that keeping money in US dollars didn't seem very reliable. So they thought, why not? Because back then, America's national strength wasn't like it is today, not as strong as it became later on. In 1974, the United States was in turmoil after the Vietnam War, kind of like today, once again in a state of turmoil. So Bank decided to seriously buy up all the silver in the world and then push silver up to the price it should be at. Because gold was being held down at $35 by the US government, there was nothing he could do about that. So he had no choice but to buy silver instead. But he was also afraid the US government would suppress silver too. So he planned to ship the silver to Switzerland. Do you get it? That was the process. At the time, rumors were spreading wildly around the world that the Hunt brothers were going to take over the US silver market and even monopolize the global silver market. So what was the annual silver production in 1974? It was 245 million ounces. That's the annual output on Earth. And what was the global demand for silver? The demand was 450 million ounces. Just listen to these numbers. Now, go check with AI right away. What is the current global demand for silver today? And what is the current production? Let me tell you, it's exactly the same. Silver production simply can't be increased. Don't listen to those idiots talk nonsense. Do you think silver is like iron ore or copper? It's very hard to increase the production of gold and silver. Extremely difficult. There just isn't that much of it. And it's all found as a byproduct. To get silver, you have to dig up a huge amount of copper. So gold and silver are often found together, or silver and copper are found together. Most high-quality silver is from byproduct ores. So the annual production of silver has always lagged behind the annual demand for silver. That's the key issue. So the Hunt brothers decided to go after silver. You might ask, why didn't they go after gold? Let me tell you again. The Hunt brothers were smarter than me because they were the richest people in America, damn it. The reason the Hunt brothers didn't go after gold was because the US government was playing dirty at the time, invoking the Bretton Woods system. All Americans who bought gold, no matter if you were the richest person or not, it was illegal. So they had to settle for the next best thing. Got it? All right. Then everyone asked, if these two brothers just started buying recklessly, how much silver does America have? How much silver is there in the world for them to trade? They had already bought 55 million ounces. How much could America provide? Weren't they trying to squeeze the shorts even more? Let's give it to them. However much we have, we'll give it to them. How much money do they have? If you do the math, 200 million ounces, COMEX, plus all the private reserves in the United States, there are only 200 million ounces. Damn, they've already bought 55 million ounces. There are still 200 million ounces left. All right. Now the situation is clear. It's obvious who's going to win and who's going to lose. The Hunt brothers can actually come up with that much money. If it's $6 an ounce, so Bank traveled by plane to New York City to engage in some intensive lobbying efforts. Hey, lobbying? While he was delivering a formal keynote speech at the COMEX technology exhibition, Bank himself, that's equivalent to Elon Musk, give a speech. The original quote was, almost anything in this world is better than, I got a $1 bill. Both are paper, even more valuable than the US dollar. Small green banknotes, little green paper. Everything in the world is more valuable than it. They are all more valuable than it. Because even an idiot can use a printing press. What he meant was silver and gold, anything at all, even pots and pans are worth more than this. Because they just print this stuff recklessly. At that time, the US really was running massive deficits. By March 1975, banks still didn't have enough money because the price of silver started to get shorted again, just like how it's being slammed down today. Then bank had to damn well add more margin. They were using leverage too. This was an important reason for his downfall. Then he ran out of money. What do you do when you don't have enough money? He flew to Tehran to find the then Shah of Iran, Pahlavi. Yeah, that's the one today. Now, the Shah Pahlavi wants to restore the monarchy, but that was his father. He went to see his father. It was his father. He went to see him before he was overthrown. Old Wang was right. Gold is a byproduct mineral. It's a byproduct of pyrite and copper mines. Isn't that right? I mean, damn it. I've actually acquired gold companies myself. Come on, how could I not know? Even though I can't do it myself, I still know all about it. I've never slaughtered a pig myself, damn it. But the thing is, I'm the one selling pork. You get it? So the general situation with pigs, those butchers still tell me about it. All right, let's continue. So even though the two brothers didn't have enough cash on hand, they went to Iran. They approached the Shah of Iran, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. They wanted Pahlavi to join forces with them. They told Pahlavi a story. He claimed if we all bought silver together, we'd force sellers to cover, triggering a short squeeze. We'd force them to jump out the window. Haha. And not only that, silver wouldn't be just $6 anymore. We could push it up to $60 if we wanted to. See, wouldn't Iran become rich too? Wouldn't we all be happy then? But Pahlavi didn't really understand. So Pahlavi had his finance minister discuss the details with the Hunt brothers. That's normal, right? The finance minister would talk it over with them in detail. The finance minister, an Iranian. This Iranian nobleman directly asked the Hunt brothers, how much did you make last year? How much money did you earn? The Hunt brother hesitated for a moment and said, about $50 million. The finance minister immediately refused to cooperate with him. There were two key turning points here. Two key turning points. Cultural differences. First, he hesitated for a moment because they didn't trust each other and they didn't really know each other. So that hesitation shows you have a guilty conscience. And then you say $50 million. The Iranian finance minister thought he was exaggerating the number because he hesitated for a moment. But actually, that year, he was already the richest man in America. So he made $50 million. Is that even possible? Why did he hesitate for a moment? Why did he say $50 million later? He also wrote about it in his memoirs. He really regretted it too. Otherwise, he would have won a long time ago. Why is that? In his memoirs, Banky later recalled, why did I hesitate for a moment? Why did I say $50 million? Damn, at that moment, he suddenly thought of the IRS. It was just that simple. He was afraid that if he said too much later, Americans would spread the word about it because it would definitely get reported in the newspapers and spread around. In America, bragging means you have to pay taxes. In the United States, if you tell the Shah in Iran that you make $2 billion a year, what about the taxes? So Banke hesitated for a moment and said, I made 50 million. That way, the IRS would know and wouldn't come after him for back taxes. But then the Shah of Iran would look down on you thinking you're just a small fry. Like you have a dead rat tucked in your waistband, pretending to be a hunter. Coming to my damn lavish royal palace in Tehran? Business with me? Get lost. He was cursed and kicked out. This incident delayed him. But at that time, there was another major country next to Iran, a major country in the Middle East, also rich, also had oil, which was Saudi Arabia. Even today, both Saudi Arabia and Iran are wealthy oil countries. At that time, Saudi Arabia still had a king. Iran also had a king, but Pahlavi kicked him out. However, the king of Saudi Arabia was named Faisal. Faisal was interested. Faisal took the initiative and said, well then, come to me. I have money too. Let's work together. The two of them agreed to sign the contract and get started in April. In April 1975 to be exact. But look, sometimes things just don't go as planned. Man proposes, but God disposes. On March 25th, 1975, which was just 2 weeks before the contract was to be signed, just 2 weeks, this was a world-shaking event at the time, an incident that impacted the global financial markets. Most people today don't know about it because I myself wasn't even born yet back then. On March 25th, 1975, the king, during a palace banquet, was shot and killed by his schizophrenic nephew. It all happened so abruptly, so carelessly. He died as lightly as a feather. King Faisal bin Abdulaziz, King Faisal of Saudi Arabia, he was supposed to be a great king, but damn, he was just shot dead like that. He died, and the shooter's identity shocked them. Damn, he was mentally ill. Sigh. How did he even get in with a gun? There was nothing anyone could do. And just like that, the whole thing was over. So as for Bank, he didn't even know the new king. And besides, the new king wasn't interested either, so Bank was out of options.